Imagine, for a second, that you've built a machine, and this machine literally prints money faster than you can possibly spend it. It completely removes the single greatest, most suffocating chokehold on any growing business, a lack of cash. Well, we are about to decode the exact framework used to scale companies from absolute zero to well over $100 million. This is an explainer of Alex Hormozi's 100M money models, and frankly, it's an absolute masterclass in survival, aggressive scale, and true wealth creation. So let's just dive right into this. Look at this question right here, because it reveals what is essentially the ultimate business paradox. What actually happens when you spend, say, $100 in advertising to acquire a new customer, and you know for a fact you're going to make $500 in profit from them? I mean, it sounds like a totally guaranteed win, right? You take that deal all day long. But here is the lethal trap that kills so many startups. What if it takes you 2 whole years to actually collect that $500? You might look highly profitable on paper, but in reality, you are starving from a total lack of immediate cash. You literally cannot afford to grow. And this brilliantly illustrates that exact core problem. It's what we call the slow drip versus 30-day cash. You see, in a traditional business model, profits slowly drip in over a long period of time. It's like trying to fill a swimming pool with a leaky bucket. That slow drip starves the business of the cash it desperately needs today. It forces founders to cut back on their advertising, take out really dangerous, high-interest loans, float the entire company on personal credit cards, and eventually, they just lose the business entirely. Big, massive companies with endless investor backing, sure, they can afford the slow drip. You can't. Let that sink in for a minute. You have to print money in the first 30 days. Now, to really understand the gravity of this, we need to look at the author himself, Alex Hormozi. Because before the massive, overwhelming success, he was literally sleeping on the concrete floor of his own gym. He had skipped business school, drained absolutely all of his life savings, and he had these kids partying in the parking garage right above him. It sounded like gunshots echoing in his bedroom every single night. It got so bad he eventually just gave up on sleeping at night altogether and settled for taking midday naps inside a utility closet. I mean, just think about that level of stress for a second. He had exactly $5,000 left to his entire name and maybe 1 month to live before complete, utter financial ruin. He didn't just need a good idea, he needed cash, and he needed it fast. But from that freezing concrete floor, a massive paradigm shift occurred. Over the next few short years, Hormozi didn't just survive, he completely turned gyms around across the entire country, launched a wild licensing model, and actually took home over $43 million in owner distributions. Then, he sold 66% of his company in an all-cash deal, officially crossing a $100 million net worth by the age of 31. His portfolio now does over $200 million a year. So why does his perspective matter to us? Because he achieved all of this by mastering the exact, precise framework we are dissecting today. So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding what exactly saved him. It was a money model. And listen, a money model isn't just a really good product. It is a highly deliberate sequence of offers. It dictates exactly what you offer, exactly when you offer it, and exactly how you offer it, specifically to make as much money as humanly possible, as fast as you can. A brilliantly engineered money model basically makes enough profit from just one single customer in the first 30 days to totally fund the acquisition of multiple new customers. It creates this loop of infinite momentum. Notice this hand-drawn sketch right here from the source material. This is the entire ecosystem, and I want you to notice how it's built sequentially. It doesn't all happen at once. You don't just start a brand new business with a fully finished, complex model. Honestly, it would just collapse under its own weight. Instead, you build it in very specific stages: attraction, upsells, downsells, and finally continuity. So let's break down exactly how to construct this machine, step by step. Act 1. Get cash. The absolute power of attraction offers. Look, before you can optimize your back end or anything else, you need customers coming through the front door for the very first time. And ideally, you want them for less than it normally costs to acquire them. Let's look at a really fascinating story Hormozi shares that perfectly captures how this works. He was at his absolute lowest point, talking to a mentor who randomly asked him, "Hey, how much does a free month of storage cost?" Hormozi guessed, "0. Obviously, right? It's free." So they literally drove to a local storage facility to find out. The mentor walked in and asked the front desk clerk, "How much does a free month of storage cost?" She just smiled and said, $127, sir. Wait, why? Because sure, the first month is technically free, but you instantly have to buy a specific lock, packing tape, a few boxes, and pay a mandatory administrative fee. Boom. That is the hidden mechanic of a brilliant attraction offer. It pulls you in with this massive perceived value, but it completely liquidates the cost of acquiring you immediately through related necessary purchases. Now, there are basically 5 specific Grand Slam attraction offers that reliably pull prospects into your ecosystem. First, you have win your money back challenges, which are incredibly motivating. Then, highly leveraged giveaways. Third, you have decoys that essentially exist just to make your main offer look totally irresistible by comparison. Fourth is the classic buy X, get Y free, which is great because it clears out inventory while piling on value. And finally, pay less now or pay more later. These are essentially your frontline soldiers. Their only job is to get that initial crucial yes. Which brings us to Act 2, get more cash, the mechanics of upsells and downsells. Okay, so you've attracted the customer, the front door is open. Now you desperately need to boost your 30-day profits from the leads you've just acquired. And we do this with upsells, which simply turn yeses into much bigger yeses. Think about it. The absolute peak of a customer's buying intent, the moment their dopamine is spiking the highest, is the exact second they have just decided to buy something from you. They already have their wallet out. You absolutely must capture maximum cash right then and there. If you don't have something else, something better or faster to offer them immediately after they say yes, you are literally leaving massive amounts of money sitting on the table. Hormozi actually outlines 3 very specific upsell frameworks to use here. First, there's the menu upsell, where you basically just offer a highly customizable list of add-ons. Easy enough. Next, and this one is fascinating, are anchor upsells. Here, you deliberately offer your absolute most wildly expensive premium thing first. It anchors their price expectation incredibly high in their brain. If they balk at the price, no problem. You easily step them down to a much more acceptable alternative. Finally, you have rollover upsells, where you actually credit their previous smaller purchase toward a much bigger commitment. It makes the big purchase feel like a discount. But hey, what happens when they inevitably look at your upsell and say no? That's where this brilliant little concept comes into play: downsells. While upsells turn yeses into bigger yeses, downsells give you one more shot by turning a no into a yes. Now, I want to make a really crucial distinction here. A downsell is absolutely never just the exact same stuff you just offered, but for a cheaper price. If you do that, it destroys your value and trains people to wait for a discount. Instead, a downsell must be a fundamentally different offer for the same core product. So how exactly do you structure a downsell? Well, you can use a payment plan downsell. This is offering the exact same product at the exact same total price, but split up over time. So you get some cash now and more later. You can also use a trial with penalty, basically letting them start for free, but only if they agreed to some pretty strict terms. Or you use feature downsells, where you lower the price, but you do it by explicitly removing value, like cutting out the one-on-one coaching, removing a guarantee, or reducing the total quantity. Let's run the math on this for a second, because it's undeniable. If you pitch 10 leads, maybe 3 say yes to your main thing. But with a well-placed downsell, you might catch 3 more people who initially said no to the big package. You've literally just doubled your paying customer base and exploded your upfront cash flow from the exact same amount of original traffic. Now, take a look at exactly where we are on the roadmap. We've solved the core problem. We've successfully attracted the customer. We've maximized our immediate cash with smart upsells, and we've salvaged the lost leads with downsells. We are finally arriving at the absolute holy grail of business valuation: continuity. Act 3. Get the most cash. Maximizing your continuity offers. So continuity is just a fancy word for recurring revenue. It is the underlying engine that secures the long-term, infinite scaling potential of your entire business. It transforms a one-time transaction into a lifetime relationship. As Hormozi learned from this profound and, slightly dark analogy from an early mentor, you can shear a sheep for a lifetime, but you can only skin it once, right? If you just focus on massive one-off high-ticket sales without ever building a back end, you're skinning the sheep. You might win big today, but you have absolutely nothing left for tomorrow. Continuity is shearing the sheep. By providing ongoing, undeniable value, your customers make ongoing payments to you indefinitely, right up until they decide to cancel. But here is Hormozi's massive, completely counterintuitive secret about continuity. And this is where literally 90% of founders get it wrong. Do not put it first. So many businesses try to use a cheap $10 a month subscription as their main attraction offer. And what happens? It completely crashes their 30-day profits. It starves them of the immediate cash they need to go buy more ads today. Hormozi's rule is incredibly simple. Put continuity last. Get your massive upfront cash injection today through your attraction offer, your upsells, and your downsells. Then, and only then, do you drop those paid-for customers into a continuity model to secure the long-term future. And that brings us to the final assembly of the machine. It's time to actually make your money model. When you seamlessly combine all 4 of these elements together sequentially, you create a genuinely unbreakable system. You are no longer just guessing. You are no longer sitting around hoping for word of mouth. You have a documented, highly mathematical formula to essentially take over your entire market. So, if you take absolutely nothing else away from this masterclass, if you just take these massive action steps, here is your razor-sharp blueprint. Step 1, use attraction offers to get customers through the door for less than they cost you. Step 2, deploy upsells immediately while intent is high to maximize your upfront 30-day cash. Step 3, use downsells to capture the leads who say no, strategically stripping away features to match what's in their wallet. And Step 4, lock in continuity at the very end of the sequence to secure that recurring lifetime revenue. Make no mistake, that is the exact architecture of a $100 million business. Bringing this completely full circle, take a look at this stark warning from the source text. Bad money models kill businesses. For sure. If you mess up this specific sequence, like if you try to build continuity first, or if you just ignore upsells entirely because you feel weird about selling, you'll spend all your money trying to get customers, you'll realize at the end of the month that you spent way more than you made, you'll have to cut back on your advertising, you'll float the business on personal credit, and eventually you'll lose it all. Getting the sequence right is literally life or death for your company. Because this right here is the ultimate paradigm shift. Your primary goal is not just to be profitable eventually in some distant future. Your goal is to print money in the first 30 days. When you can successfully do that, you can fund infinite customer acquisition. You completely remove cash flow as a limiter to your scale. You can go out and buy way more advertising than anyone else in your entire industry, simply because you know, mathematically, you will make it all back plus profit in less than a month. That makes you unbeatable. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to really stare down today. Will you continue starving your business with the slow drip, constantly relying on hope and borrowed time? Or are you finally ready to ruthlessly sequence your offers, demand upfront cash, and build your own $100 million money model? The blueprint is literally right here in your hands. Whenever you encounter a business framework like this, you really have to ask yourself, where did this actually come from? Are we talking about classroom theory here, or is this battle-tested in the real world? Well, this entire system was designed by Alex Hormozi. And as we talked about earlier, he didn't inherit some massive empire. He skipped business school, drained his bank accounts to zero, and learned these harsh, brutal lessons while sleeping in a utility closet. He built this step by step out of pure, sheer necessity to survive and generate cash. By applying this exact mathematical sequence, he bootstrapped his way from literally nothing to a sprawling portfolio of companies doing hundreds of millions of dollars in annual revenue. He shares these frameworks as he actually experienced them right there in the trenches so that you don't have to make the same brutal, expensive mistakes. But hey, you don't just have to take his word for it. Let's look at the hard data from neutral third parties who get to see the back end of thousands of different businesses. Alex Becker, the CEO of the massive ad tracking platform Hyros, stated on the record, Hormozi has the highest return on advertising of any business using our platform, by a mile. To really put that into perspective, they only work with the absolute top tier of marketers. We're talking about people spending over $250,000 a year just on ads. Becker notes that Hormozi has the biggest discrepancy between dollars spent and dollars earned that they have literally ever seen. This framework mathematically dominates the competition. It isn't just a fun theory to talk about, it is verifiable, hard-coded proof. It all really comes back to that utility closet. The concrete coffin, the blinding fluorescent lights, and that desperate, overwhelming need for cash. Look, almost every successful entrepreneur shoulders that exact same burden in the dark at some point. But now, you have the exact chronological blueprint to break out of it. You know exactly how to attract through extreme value, how to upsell to maximize that crucial 30-day window, how to collaboratively downsell to capture lost revenue, and how to build continuity to stack passive wealth. You have the tools to ensure your business is never, ever starved of cash again. So the only real question left is, what are you going to do with it? What will your one of zero moment be? Take this model, apply it to your market, and completely take over. If this deep dive brought you real value today, hit that like button, drop a comment with your biggest takeaway, and make sure to subscribe to Summarypedia for more masterclasses in the world of books.